Hey girls, today we are going to be reading a text together about Tomie dePaola. And that Tomie dePaola is an author who has written many children's stories. And I don't think I gave you guys this text to take home over our break. So I went ahead and I typed up the story on the Google slide right before this one. So you can listen to me read the text, and you can also have the slide pulled up that I typed, and you can constantly refer back to that. But today, after we read our story, we're going to be answering some explicit and implicit questions. Now, the difference between explicit and implicit questions is this. An explicit question, those are questions that can be found right in the text. So, for example, if we were asking, if you think back to our story Wonder that you guys read in fourth grade, and if I asked, who is Augie? Well, Augie is a student. He is a young boy. You could talk about the different facial, different like disabilities that he has. Those are questions that you can find right in the text. The author puts it right there for you. Implicit questions, on the other hand, are questions that you have to use your inferring skills to help you answer. So if you think back to a couple weeks ago in my class, we practiced using our inferring skills. And there's two things that you have to use to be able to infer. First, you have to use your schema, and that is just a fancy way of saying your background knowledge. So thinking of like your life experiences, things that you have seen, heard, experienced, all of that provides your background knowledge. And then you're also going to use clues from the text. So again, these are just questions that sometimes the authors don't come right out and say it. So think about describing what a character is like. Sometimes the author doesn't come right out and say that a character is rude or that a character is polite. Sometimes you have to be able to use the character's actions, their words, what they see, think, do to help you make that inference. Anyways, today we're going to read, again, a story about Tomie dePaola, and then I'm going to walk you through answering some explicit questions and those implicit questions, those questions where you have to infer. First, if you look at your Google slide, I highlighted a couple of keywords that I wanted to go over their meaning. The first word is illustrated. And these are highlighted in yellow on that slide where I typed up the story. But illustrated means that somebody drew the pictures. So if you think about picture books, the illustrator is the person who draws the pictures for the story. Our next word that I highlighted is scenery. So if you've ever seen a play or a musical, and if you think about the stage that the performers are on, the scenery is the set design behind it. So usually they use like cardboard, paint, different materials to help you see what the scene should look like. Okay. The next word that I've highlighted is memorize. So if you memorize something, you just know it right away. The next word that is highlighted is arithmetic, and that is just another word for math. And the next and final word that I have highlighted is complex. If something is complex, that means the opposite of simple. The way that it's used in the text is it says complex feelings. So if you have complex feelings, it means you have a lot of different feelings and emotions. All right, if you open this video up in a separate tab, you can always have your slide pulled up as you listen to me read the story out loud. And we'll be referring back to that text as we answer questions. Tomie dePaola. Tomie dePaola has illustrated over 200 books. He has also authored over 100 of those. So that means he actually wrote the story. So he's authored over 100 of those he has illustrated. Tomie was born in 1934 in Connecticut, one of 4 children. Tomie's mother read to him as a young boy and encouraged his early interest in art. His father loved to take pictures, and there are many home movies of the dePaola family. Tomie knew what he wanted to do when he grew up by the time he was 5 years old. One day he came home from kindergarten and told his mother he was going to draw pictures for books, sing and dance on stage, and paint all the scenery. In elementary school, he was gifted in the ability to learn songs after hearing them only once, and to memorize poems. But he had a terrible time memorizing math facts. He told his 2nd grade teacher he was not going to be an arithmeticer. He was going to be an artist. He thought writing numbers on paper was a waste of good paper that could be used to draw pictures. In 4th grade, Tomie sent a drawing to Walt Disney and was excited to get an answer. Mr. Disney suggested that Tomie continue to practice. One of his favorite childhood memories was the building of his family's new home at 26 Fairmount Avenue. As the house was being built, he found a lot of blank walls to draw on. He drew pictures of his family with chalk. Think how he felt when the walls were painted. At night, he drew pictures on his sheets until his mother stopped him. Tomie's writings show the complex feelings of children in a world of grown-ups. One of his major gifts as a writer is to use his childhood memories to remind adults what they were like as children. And more importantly, his books help children see themselves grow to face the adult world. Examples from his childhood include The Art Lesson, a book about an understanding teacher, and The Baby Sister, a book about the arrival of a new baby to the family. So first I have pulled a couple of explicit questions to answer. Now think back. Explicit means it's found right in the text. So you could actually go into the text and underline the exact answer for that question. So an example of an explicit question would be, who is Tomie dePaola? So in my text, or my copy of it, I was actually able to underline the exact answer to that question. So who is Tomie dePaola? Well, this says, Tomie dePaola has illustrated over 200 books, and he has authored over 100 of those. So I could say he's an author and illustrator of children's books. Or I could say he is an author and an illustrator. It's right there in that text that I underlined. Another example of an explicit question, so a question I can find the answer right in the text, would be, what did Tomie tell his mother one day after kindergarten? So as a reader, I would go back to my text and find the exact moment where he was coming home from kindergarten and telling his mom what he wanted to do. So that's what I did. I actually went back and underlined in my text where it said, one day he came home from kindergarten and told his mother he was going to draw pictures for books, sing and dance on stage, and paint all the scenery. So I could even put that into my own words and just say, he told his mom he wanted to be an author or an illustrator, sing and dance, and paint scenery. Some examples of implicit questions. Now think back, implicit means you have to use some of your own background knowledge and experience to help you answer these questions. They're not as direct in being able to find them in the text. So an example of an implicit question that you might be asked to answer would be, what examples in the story tell us that Tomie would draw on anything? So you can infer that Tomie would draw on anything because in the text it said he found a lot of blank walls to draw on, and he drew pictures on his sheets. Okay, so those are some details that the author gave us to help us infer how he would use anything as a drawing material. Another example of an implicit question might be, how did Tomie's artistic abilities get him into trouble? Now, in the text, it didn't say that he got into trouble. I don't remember it saying that. But let me look back to where it talked about him using his artistic abilities. It says he found a lot of blank walls to draw on. He drew pictures of his family with chalk. Think how he felt when the walls were painted. At night, he drew pictures on his sheets until his mother stopped him. Ooh, wait. Right there, it said, until his mother stopped him. So if I'm using my background knowledge, I can think back to when I was a kid, and if I wasn't supposed to do something, well, what would my mom do? She would stop me from doing it. So if his mom stopped him from drawing on his sheets, it must have been something he shouldn't have been doing. And if she stopped him, he might have gotten into trouble. So I can infer that his artistic abilities got him into trouble with his mom because he was drawing on his sheets, even though it didn't exactly say he got in trouble. All right, so now I would like for you guys to practice answering some explicit questions you can find the answer right in the text, as well as some implicit questions, so questions you have to use some more inferring skills, so that background knowledge and clues from the text to answer. And those will be on the next Google slide. I can't wait to see your answers.